I'm Hannah Dale. I go to CPLC here at Christ Place, and I'm here with Pastor Paul Welch. He is the lead children's pastor here at Christ Place Church. Welcome,
Hi.
Paul.
Hey, thank you, Hannah. Looking forward to this time. Yes.
Yes, I've been looking forward to it for weeks.
Me too.
Cool.
Yes.
So, my first question for you today is, what is your favorite creative teaching method for kids?
My favorite creative teaching method is the one that works.
All right.
So, no, I really do like to use a variety. But I think if I had to choose, I think it would be either between object lesson, so some type of object lesson on stage, or some type of original like video content, probably related to humor. I think humor is a good way to teach, and I also like doing object lessons, so it'd be a toss-up.
Nice. So what is your all-time favorite message that you created from scratch?
That's a really good question.
Cool.
I think one of them was an Adventures with Jesus series that we did, where we looked at everything that Jesus taught out of a boat. That was fun. There was quite a bit in there. If I had to pick one, I think it would be that, because we did quite a bit. We did, I think, 6 weeks of just teaching the messages that Jesus taught out of his boat. So we actually had a boat on stage, and it was all like fishing and boat type of analogies that we used. So it was kind of just a fun way to, and so it wasn't like something that was just like cute. It was actually something that like he was in when he was teaching in certain times, and things that he taught his disciples while they were in a boat.
Oh, that's awesome.
All those kinds of things. So it was kind of a fun way to do that.
Did you have any like fishing poles or anything?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. We had a huge rowboat on stage, and it was full with fishing poles. We had nets, and we had all different kinds of things. And
awesome.
So it was kind of a fun one to do.
Yeah. So what is a time when you thought you created the best lesson ever and it didn't go the way you wanted it to go?
That happens more than I'd like to think.
Yeah.
I can be an idealist.
Okay.
So I'll have this picture in my head, and I'd be like, if I did this and this, it'd be really cool. And then it wasn't. There was, which is fine, because you don't know unless you try, right?
Yeah.
But there's definitely been a number of times where I thought, oh, this is going to go over really well, and it totally bombed. There have been a lot of times where this one time I was presenting the gospel and supposed to use like the ink and the bleach and all that kind of stuff, and so, well, I don't know what I did, but it didn't work at all, and so like I just keep mixing it, and I just keep talking, and I realize like it's not happening at all. Like I'm not sure, and I had done it before and it worked, but this time it did not work at all. So then you just try to back out, and I would say like, typically what this would do, or like you try to, and it just never goes over quite the same. But that was super fun. I remember trying this thing with it was like an air cannon.
Okay.
And with a garbage can and a lid, and there's a hole in the top or in the bottom of it, and you stretch this like shower curtain stuff over it, and you hit it, sends this ring of air out. And
all right. I
remember trying to knock something off at a certain distance, and totally couldn't do it, and it didn't work at all. And so the kids are like, that didn't work. They always call you out on it. And they're like, was it supposed to knock it over? And so there's been a lot of different times where I would try something and it wouldn't work. So anyways, but I think my new favorite might be, we're going to try live animals for Palm Sunday and Easter this year. So this is going to fall under one of the two. Either it's not going to work at all and the animals are going to poop everywhere, or it's going to be like one of my favorite ones.
All right. I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
Should be good.
All right. So what are some of the biggest challenges when creating your own content?
I think creating your own content requires so much time to create it, and also lead time. I think a lot of times in ministry we can get stuck with just doing whatever is immediate. And so kind of the tyranny of the urgent a little bit.
Yeah.
And so you actually have to be able to plan out far enough ahead in order to have the time to create some of that content, especially to be creative with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think that's one of the biggest challenges, is to get to a point. And I think in order to do that, you have to have a solid and consistent schedule and kind of routine week to week, so that you're not reinventing the wheel every week, and you're not totally redoing content every week for that next weekend or that next midweek. And so I think time is probably the biggest enemy. There's never a shortage of ideas, I feel like.
Yeah.
There's always plenty of ideas. Sometimes the challenge for some of that timing can be if you're lining up with something that the adults are doing. So in the main auditorium, if their stuff isn't put together in time, it's hard to play off of that, or can be hard. So I think timing is probably the most difficult of it, in order to even have a fighting chance of doing something creative.
Yeah. So then on the flip side, what's like the biggest reward from like creating your own content?
I think creating your own content seems very daunting to people. Yeah. But like, I think one of the big things is realizing like we can totally do this. It's not crazy. It's not, once we get our timing set, like it really is. It's kind of fun to do. One of the reasons that it's fun and that I think it is worth the time is because you can get it specific to your church. So we can use our own church language as opposed to using language that you'd find in maybe some curriculum that you kind of have to stick with using. So you can use your own wording, and I think that makes the most sense to our kids and families then. I think the other thing is it can reflect kind of your church's priorities. And I think the main thing is I believe that God does speak to specific churches about specific things. Yeah. And so I think other people's content can be a good launching point. But man, when you get to start from scratch, it feels and looks and smells like your church. And I think that's really rewarding, and to know that this is specifically for these kids. Yes. Awesome. Yeah, and so there's a lot of times where you look at content and curriculum and it's good, but like, man, I'd like to go in this direction with it, or I'd like to go. Yeah. And so building your own content, you can say, but I think for our kids right now, I think we need to do it this way. Absolutely. As opposed to being like, well, that's how they drew it up, and so that's what we're going to do.
Love it. Awesome.
Yeah. So.
Awesome. So, final thought, what is your one piece of advice for someone that's going into kids ministry or in ministry in general? What's one thing that they need to know before stepping into the ministry field?
Only one?
Only one.
I think I would recommend, and this is kids ministry specific. Yep. I think I would recommend to anyone going in kids ministry, online, take some classes, or get around someone who has some type of classroom management or education experience. Right. Because I think sometimes when we think of ministry, we have this picture in our head of what we're going to do, and our biggest frustrations come from not meeting those expectations. And so I think if we can't handle a room of kids or a group of kids or certain situations, or we don't have tools to do it, it doesn't matter what lesson we've put together, it's going to be tough to pull off. Yeah. And so I think group management skills and tools, and kind of filling up our tool belt, surrounding yourself with some people, or taking some classes on, okay, but how do I manage a group? How do I set expectations? How do I consistently follow through to make sure our kids are actually positioned to be able to hear what God wants them to hear? So I think that can be one of the biggest challenges. So yeah.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hannah. I appreciate it.
Glad we got to meet up and just talk about ministry.
We should do it again sometime.
Yes, we should.
Like
awesome.
On Tuesdays or Wednesdays.
Yeah, sometime.
Right. I mean, that'd be a great idea.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Hannah. You're awesome.